edition of Full Time Fantasy. I'm Alex White. I'm here with Mark Ferris. How we doing today, Mark?
Doing good. Long time no see, huh?
Yeah, it's been a while. Meeting up for the majors isn't a bad gig, though. Just, makes us accumulate a lot of knowledge about golf before we get to the big time stuff.
That's right. That's right.
So it's the last major of the year, so this might be our last meeting unless we randomly meet up later on for an off-season tournament or something. But maybe the playoffs or something, like the last right before the FedEx Cup or something. Maybe we'll do a pod for that.
Yeah, and I think the Greenbrier event is actually in September this year, if I remember correctly. I was down there this past weekend, so I mean that's a course I've actually played, the Old White. So
that's in West Virginia, right?
What's that?
West Virginia, is that correct?
Yep, West Virginia.
Nice. Oh, that's probably not too far from us being in North Carolina. Cool. All right, well, let's get after it. So it's the Open, or as people call it, the British Open, whatever you want to call it. Let's go with the Open for all intents and purposes. It's going to be at Royal Portrush this year, guys. So brand new course that hasn't been played since, I believe, 2012 when it was like in the Irish Open. So, we do have some course history, but it was so far back and there's so many different forms and new golfers. I'm kind of throwing that out the window. If you want to go off that, great. We might mention, a few guys that played well there at that point that are still playing well. But I'm sure the course has changed a little bit too. And if they're hyping it up for a major, I'm sure it's going to play a little bit tougher. Mark, anything in particular you want to talk about with Portrush?
No, I think what I read too is you're right. I think after the last time they played the Scottish Open there or whatever it was, they renovated and lengthened the course some. So, again, I think you said this, mentioned it in the article. This is a different animal, folks. I mean, golf for links golf is not what you're used to seeing. I mean, there's going to be a lot of, as I call it, ground game. So don't be surprised if some of these guys that don't hit it high and hit it a mile are running the ball up to the same place that these guys are that hit it high. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Unlike, Bethpage this year, it brings a lot of other golfers into the mix. There were certain golfers who were just completely cut out of our player pool based on distance at Bethpage. So this is a whole new animal. It is a par 71, so they do at least have three par fives. And the course is 7,300 yards. So with Mark mentioning it being a link style course, there's going to be a lot more runoff, and shorter guys will have just as good as an advantage. And I honestly think that there's going to be a lot of times where our big bombers are going to have to dial it down so they don't run off into the rough. I heard the rough is extremely penalizing this season. They might just club down and be hitting 3-woods and long irons off the tee, which also brings other golfers, into the mix that we might not normally think about. We might think a little bit more about Phil at some point. I'm not, but maybe Mark has something to say about him later on. There's just other golfers, driving accuracy is important. But if you're looking at that as a stat, it's going to be different because they're not hitting driving the entire time. So driving accuracy is going to be weighted very oddly. It's not going to be very accurate if you're looking at for a key stat this week. Would you agree with that, Mark?
Yeah, and it's not just the rough either. You've got the bunkers here. I forget the number I saw, 70 some, 80 some, whatever the number is on the bunkers. And if it's typical, English links golf, they're not going to be fun to hit out of because if you get close enough to the face, you're going sideways.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's actually this course has less sand traps than any other course they've played at the Open the past 7 years, but they said the deepness of them is just as deep as any other Open. So hopefully we can avoid bunkers, but I did weight sand saves in my model this week because I knew that would be a big part of it.
Right, yeah, around the green especially. I mean, now the fairway bunkers are going to be the ones that will really hurt because if you can't advance it forward, it's one thing to have it up on the face and pop it straight up into the air because these guys can do that and get it on the green, but popping it up straight up in the air when the fairway bunker just lands you 5 yards in front of where you were in the fairway, it doesn't really help.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you might have a guy having a great round with 3 holes to go, and he could land in 2 fairway bunkers, and it's bogey, or even worse. So, Like Mark says, and he always writes in his article, do not wait, how your guys are playing on Thursday and Friday. If they make the cut, great. That's awesome, because we get 6 to 6 through, but crazy things happen on Saturday and Sunday, especially in a major.
Yep.
So let's start breaking down the fun stuff. DraftKings, FanDuel. Let's stick with DraftKings today, and if you want to mention some price discrepancies, we can. Let's start with this top range. So we have, let's see, Mr. Rory McIlroy, North Irishman himself. It's a home game at 11,600, and let's go down all the way to Tiger at 10-2. As always, it's hard to break down this top range, but do you have a favorite and somebody you're trying to fade in that top 5?
There's nobody I'm really trying to fade. I guess if I had to pick one out of the 5, it would probably be Woods, because he even said that his game's not up to where he wants it to be. Of course, that could be him playing mind games with everybody else. We don't know. But again, I think, like you and I might have talked a little bit before, out of those guys, I'm liking Jon Rahm right now. I know it's hard to go away from Koepka and some of those guys, but I think I even said in my article, when you're looking at these guys at the top, it's not a matter of who's better than who. It's a matter of which one of them doesn't get the bad bounce, which one of them doesn't get the bad tee time, which one of them doesn't get the bad break. That's just what it is.
Yeah, that's huge, and that's hard to figure out. Our job is to give you our best guess as to who's going to play great. But in a major, honestly, and I'm going to have full disclosure, like it is my worst tournaments of the season, our majors. I just, they always look so good, and this week I'm really going kind of off the wall with some plays. Just because my kind of close to the best plays at the last couple of majors have really hurt me. So I'm taking a different approach this time. I'm not weighting stats as drastically because it's hard to go off of. There's no other course on the site that I use that emulates Royal Port Rush. So the stats that I'm getting aren't going to be necessarily correct. So there's going to be some off-the-wall plays, and I'm sure, Mark, we're going to differentiate quite a bit. So, as far as Tiger, he would be the one I'm going to stay away from the most. He's amazing with approaches. He just is. He's awesome. And with him being able to dial back and not hit driver on every hole, I think that plays to his advantage. I just don't know where his game is. He could play lights out Tiger, or he could play bogey golf Tiger. And if I want to play for safety, I'm going to go, I think Rory's a great play, but I feel like he's going to get too hyped up. But I've heard a lot of people on the other side, it's a home game. There's so many distractions. I'm just going to say Brooks again, because why would I not? He's got four wins in his last 2 seasons? There's 3 wins, 3 seconds, and like a 39th at last year's Open. And if it wasn't for like one horrible round of like a 76 last year, he would have been another top 10 at the Open. So
you're right. Again, that's what we were trying to say. Brooks, Koepka. If you fade Brooks, Koepka, you haven't been watching golf for the last 2 years, at least not watching majors.
Yeah. So if I'm going to break it down like that, I'm just going Brooks. I'm going to fade the others, and I think he'll honestly come in the lowest zone somehow. I feel like him and DJ might be similar as far as ownership, but I feel like it's Rory, then Rahm, then probably Dustin, Brooks, and maybe Tiger falls in last there. But those 3 between Woods, Koepka, and Dustin Johnson, it's going to be a toss-up. Yeah. Some people might just go with the super safe route and start their lineups with 9K golfers. Because, you can hammer that 8K range and have a beautiful, beautiful lineup. There'll be a lot of people do that. So if you want to differentiate the top, honestly, I think Brooks is the play again. I recommend him at our last major. He took second. He doesn't pop on any stat model. And once again, I haven't heard anybody talk about him. Mark, have you heard much about Brooks this week? It's like people just forget this guy is the man.
The only thing I've heard about Brooks this week is he didn't answer Tiger's text message when he asked him to play a practice round with him.
That's because he's getting in the zone. He doesn't have time for Tiger's distractions.
Yeah, his response was, I don't practice.
There you go. See, that's the Allen Iverson. Practice? We talking about practice?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Brooks is just going to show up and get it done. So he's going to be my top play in that range for sure. I do like Rory though. It's hard not to, and his game's just unbelievable this year. But I'm gonna go Brooks, Rory, and then Rahm if I was going to rank my top 3 in that range.
Yeah, I would probably go with Rahm, then maybe Brooks. And I'm well, we're not touching that. We're not that far down yet, but I like Tommy Fleetwood. He's a couple spaces below. But I mean, I'm back and forth between Rory and Dustin. I mean, the only reason I'm back and forth with Rory is because, yes, it is a home game, but it's kind of the same thing with Tommy Fleetwood last year. And, you know, I think he underperformed what was anticipated. And that would be my only concern with Rory.
Sure. I mean, but even underperformance is like a top 30. So, I mean, really nice.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that scares me, you know, like when you play like a Woods, I don't know. He's not really even going to miss the cut. But, I mean, he did it at the PGA Championship, so I can't say he's not going to make every cut. But he would be the only one that I would be like, it's not going to happen. Everybody else is like pretty much a lock to make the cut. So we'll see, though.
Yeah, and I know we're further down for this guy, but, I mean, a good example of that is nothing. I don't know if it was last year or the year before when Justin Thomas, I think, shot lights out the first day and then did a complete 180 the next day and missed the cut. And part of that was due to the weather, if I remember correctly. But, and that, you know, that's why we're saying is it's hard to differentiate. You know, we get down in the 8,000 range, a little bit lower than that. You know, we can sit here and say this guy's more apt to hit the ball in the bunkers or more apt to hit it into the rough than this guy. But when you get these top tier guys, it's splitting hairs.
Yeah, it's who makes that 30-foot putt and the guy that makes, you know, the 2-foot putts. Yeah, I mean, if you're making 30-foot putts, you're going to be the better golfer that day. But then the next day you show up and then Woods is hitting 45-footers and he becomes the best golfer that day. It's just who can string it together for 4 days. My best bet is Brooks, though, because he's done it time and time again. I do love underneath that. I mean, Rose is going to be my next top play of the week. He actually probably is going to be the one I start all my lineups with. Or not all of them, but I would say probably a good chunk, maybe 50% of my lineups are starting with Rose this week. I'm just super high on him. I think he's an awesome, you know, open player. He can play in any weather situation. He can play through any draw. He's just kind of cool, calm, doesn't have a super big attitude problem. He just goes with the flow. I mean, and there's no holes in his game. He can scramble when he needs to. He can make the hard sand saves when he needs to. And his bogey avoidance, I mean, I said I'm not waiting stats, but I mean, he's top 10 in bogey avoidance, and I just love that at any major.
Yeah, and a little bit further down than that, I like Xander. Like I said, to me, Xander Schauffele is almost like Brooks kept the light, and the only reason it's light is because he's usually cheaper than Brooks. He's another one that gets up for majors. He hasn't had the success that Brooks has had, but he's always there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have nothing wrong with Xander. He keeps showing up, and he's one of my favorite golfers on tour. He's solid. I mean, I'm not all over him this week, but I've heard of his name quite a bit, and I know he's going to get some momentum. And he keeps showing up to majors. He keeps doing it. So he might just prove me wrong again and end up top 10 and top 5. And I mean, he easily pays off value. Even with a top 10, he'll pay off value because he's a good scorer.
Absolutely.
You know, he can string together, you know, 5 birdies in a major, which is just, it's hard to do to string together those 3 birdie bonus streaks in majors. If you get golfers that are
going at the pre-round bonus too.
Yeah, if they're getting anything like that, I mean, that's how you create your advantage between these top guys. They might end up with the exact same score at the end of the round. It could be 2 under to 2 under, you know, Tiger compared to Schauffele, but if Schauffele gets that bonus and then bogey free, I mean, he's up by 10 points, and that's really how you get your edge.
Yep.
So I don't mind a player like that at all. I'm fading Fleetwood. He's my fade this week. I don't think when you take away Fleetwood's driver, I think that's his most important part of his game, which is just accuracy off the tee and long off the tee and accurate. And he's great with his irons, but I just think that, I don't know, there's something about Tommy this week. I think he completely flops. I don't even think he makes the cut this week. That's my bold prediction. And he did play this course. He's one of the guys I did want to mention in 2012. He's a completely different player. He was probably like 19 at that time.
Yeah.
But he did miss the cut. He was +3. That really doesn't mean anything, but if people do care about those stats, he was +3 at the last time he played this course.
What was it? Rory was shot a 61 here when he was 16.
Yeah, he still holds the course record at 16.
I'm sure he's a different player and this is a different course, but it's still impressive.
I mean, would you be surprised if he went out and shot a 61 at any point this weekend?
No, I wouldn't. Not at all.
exactly. So it's not that out of the question. It's crazy, but if anybody shoots a 61, that'd be amazing. Anybody else in that range? I mean, Fowler's always exciting, but I feel like there's just something a little bit off about him.
Yeah.
He ranks #1 in my model. I said I'm not doing stats, but still, he does rank #1. Somehow he's popping in everything that's important. So I did want to mention that. I mean, bogey avoidance, long irons. I mean, his off the tee game is excellent. There's something a little bit off about him. So even though he's #1, I'm not weighting any lineups heavily on Ricky this week.
Yeah, I don't even think I have Ricky in a lineup yet, to be honest with you. I think I've maybe set 5 or 6, something like that.
Oh, that means he's going to win. Thanks, Mark.
There you go.
I'll lock him into my next 10. Appreciate it.
But I'm like you, though. When I run the models, I get the same thing for him. Everything pops on it, but I'm just not feeling Ricky.
No, me either. I'm not. So, I mean, I'm not fading him. Like I said, it's Fleetwood for me, but he's not going to be in my main core at all. Molinari was last year's champion. Any love for Moli?
Not really.
Okay.
He could surprise, but he's another one right now. I'm not feeling a whole lot of love for.
All right. I always like Bryson just a little bit. Once he's moving in the right direction, which he is right now, his game is obviously trending up every single time he's been out. I think the last four tournaments he's went up in the leaderboards. So I'll mention him. Justin Thomas had a great week at the Scottish Open last week, which is, I believe, is that a link style course? I believe it's similar to a link style course. So
yeah, I believe that's why a lot of them go and play it, because they get some links practice in before actually heading to wherever the Open is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, don't wait like everything off these link style, courses, because they're not the same, but it is important. They went there for a reason. There was practice. So JT's, I think his wrist injury is completely behind him at this point. So it's something to think about. He's a great scorer, and I mean, he did shoot a 9 under. I think it was 2 years ago at the Open. So he's got the ability to go super low.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, another one that's got the ability, as long as his head stays in the game and doesn't go somewhere else, is Jordan Spieth. But I'm not sure I like him mentally.
No, but he is a major player as well. He kind of shows up for these big events. I mean, heck, even this year, let me see. Doesn't he have a top 5 in a major even this year?
Yeah, he was top 10 at least.
Yeah, so at the Open, he was 65th, not great. With the PGA, he took 3rd. So, I mean, he has shown up already for a major. He took 21st at the Masters. The last time they played, I think it was 2017, was a link-style course, was the year he won. He shot like a 17 under or something crazy. That was, where was that at? Just give me one moment. Yeah, so he did. He was first place, shot a 17 under at Royal Birkdale, which is, that's something to wait. I don't mind him. He does get a little blurb in my write-up. He's interesting, and he will definitely be the lowest owned between 9,200 to 8,500. I guarantee that.
I called him my long shot, which in that price range, and again, like I think I even said, it shocks me that I'm actually calling Jordan Spieth the long shot, but to me, it's the guy that isn't really ringing any bells for me right now, but I know that he can turn around and light it up at the drop of a hat. So that's why I've got him as a long shot. I will probably have him in a lineup or two myself.
Yeah, I've sprinkled him a little bit in some lower dollar tournaments. I'm interested. I'm always interested in what he can do, especially if he's going to show up and be Jordan, even for 3 days. Jordan Spieth can top 10 with 3 solid rounds. I've seen it time and time again where he just lights it up. Whether he needs to bring the putter, and that's it. If his putter's there, he's hard to contend with when it's really there. So I don't mind it. It's a ballsy play, but it's something to think about. Really, if you're doing, especially if you're going for like these crazy, non-single entry, non-3 max. If you're going for the 150 max entry, Spieth is a solid play. That's honestly who I'd probably start in a lineup like that.
Yeah, and I think another reason that his ownership will be lower, like you said, is if you look at the names right beneath him, Adam Scott, Matt Kuchar, Jason Day, Matsuyama. I think people flock towards those four before they flock to Jordan.
Yeah, so I think the 4 highest owned golfers are all in this range. I believe Cantlay will come in over 20%. I know Scott will. I think Scott might be the highest owned golfer on the slate. Kuchar's always over 15%, doesn't matter where it's at, and he should be because he's consistent as it gets. If you want 6 to 6 through, just play Kuch. Matsuyama's going to come in over 15% owned. Even Stenson's probably going to come in with his current form. So
yeah, I'm actually liking Henrik this week.
5%. Who is your favorite in that range? I mean, those high owned golfers, they're high owned for a reason. I mean, they're all in solid form. They're all playing well. How are you differentiating, and where are you going with those, high chalk plays?
A lot of it has to do with pricing. I mean, I think I mentioned too is I'm probably going to have at least one, maybe 2 lineups where it's going to be balanced because you have what $8,300 per golfer roughly on DraftKings, and if you look around that $8,300 range, I mean, you can go Kuchar all the way down to Louis Oosthuizen, probably average out 6 golfers at $8,300, and that's a solid lineup.
Yeah, I mean, if you locked in Kuchar, Jason Day, Hideki Matsuyama, Henrik Stenson, Paul Casey, and Gary Woodland, or even, like you said, go down to Usti, and I mean, that's a heck of a cash lineup. Like, I would play them cash.
Yeah,
not even think twice.
You may only be over by $100 or $200 just doing that. I'm not sure how to do it in my head, but it's close to being $60,000 or $50,000.
And that's the thing, maybe you don't have an extra 200, but you see like a Webb Simpson who's as cash as it gets at 7,600. There you go. That's how you fill out your cash lineup.
Exactly.
Just like that. It's crazy, but that's how they get you. That's what they do in the majors. What we just said, if we were to play that lineup, I bet you 1, if not 2 of those golfers end up disappointing in a big way. So even though they sound great and they're in great form, Mark has mentioned it. They one bad bunker shot, one crappy roll, one bad lie, one shot into water that's not even on the course. Something will happen.
They have to be on the course and a storm hits. which is highly likely in there. I mean,
yep. They say that this in Northern Ireland, you can have all 4 seasons in one day. So we'll see it. It'll be crazy. But right now, as far as weather goes, everything's really calm for North Ireland. So, I mean, I've been tracking weather, and I wrote in my article, I'll track it all the way up until like 12 hours prior, because lineup lock, everybody, is at 1:30 a.m. on Thursday. Please do not set your lineups. Try to get up at 5 a.m. on Thursday to do it. You're going to be late. It's already going to be locked. You need to do it by Wednesday evening at the latest. Once I figured that out, I probably will have my article out by tonight.
That's why I tried to get mine out early. Just I think I said I could have tweaked it some more, but I thought people want the information. I need to get it to them.
Yep, absolutely. So I'll most likely have mine done by this evening. If not, it'll be locked in by tomorrow morning. Okay, so that mid-K range or that mid-8K range, my favorite plays, if I'm going to, eat some of that chalk, it's going to be Matsuyama. I feel like 8,500. I mean, we've seen him in the past couple weeks be all the way up to 11,000, and he still took like a fifth then. He paid off his price, 11K. Even in this great field, that's a guy that's just going to consistently go out there. He's going to put it in the fairway. He's going to put it on the green. If his putter is good for 2 days, he'll top 10. If it's good for 4 days, he's going to top 3. If it's good for 1 day, he'll probably top 30. That's just how Hideki plays.
Yep.
You don't need him to be exceptional on the greens because he's going to be exceptional on the fairways and getting to the greens. That's just who he is. Does he have a missed cut this year, or is he like 19 for 19? I honestly can't think of a time where he hasn't been playing a weekend.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'd have to look. I'll look real quick while we keep going.
Yeah, I'll keep going. I mean, Cooch, like I said, lock him into cash. No reason not to play him. He's just as consistent as it gets. I believe he even went over to Scotland and played the Scottish Open. Shot a 63 at one point at that tournament. It might have been his first round of the Thursday rounds. So, I mean, he's obviously got the ability to go low on a wing-style course.
Yeah, Matt's is 18 out of 18.
Yeah. So, 18 out of 18 cuts made for Matsuyama. So that's what we're saying. Like, these are cash plays. I mean, Jason Day looks like he's underpriced with the range that he's in because he's normally in this, 9K to upper, 9, maybe even low 10s back a couple years ago as far as his price. He just changed swing coaches. If you guys paid him a couple weeks ago, he was in the middle of completely changing his swing to a lower ball flight. And I don't know if he was doing that just for this tournament because he thought it was going to be super windy, but he's not the high ball flight player he has been. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's kind of scary. But if he figured it out in that extra week, I mean, he might surprise everybody. And I haven't heard his name but one time. I've heard Kuchar, Hideki, and Stenson about 1,000 times. I haven't heard Jason Day's mentioned but one time. So, I mean, start a lineup with Spieth and Day, and you're completely contrarian right there in that 8K range.
Yeah, which I have one lineup. I have one bullet in the Millie Maker. You know, that's something to think about there is I don't want to go with the chalk. I want to go with some guys like that if you're actually going to put the $20 into it. This is a little different. It's not the $100 lineup like it was last time. It's just still a $20 entry, but you don't want to go with the chalk because everybody's going to have the chalk.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Day and my model, second in short games, ranks second in short game and third in sand saves. So, you know, if his irons aren't as good as they should be, he's always really solid around the greens. And on a link style course, that's 90% of the battle. Just get up and down, move on to the next hole and get lucky and, you know, maybe birdie out. He's a great putter. So that's something to think about if you're really trying to gain an edge. I'm starting to talk myself into Day a little bit more. What about Matt Wallace? He's actually been really solid at these majors. I kind of like him quite a bit this week.
Yeah, I do. Just looking at, you know, I don't know a whole lot about Matt Wallace because we don't see him that often. You know, he's consistent. He's been playing well. So, you know, again, that's one of the keys over here. The guys on the European Tour tend to this is their major. So a lot of these guys, if you ask them which one would they rather win, they're going to say this one. So they live for this. So those guys are going to be there to play.
Yeah. Yeah. This is their Super Bowl, if you will. They don't have a Super Bowl. We do. This is their Super Bowl. This is big time. They love their golf. And I mean, if they can get, you know, something overseas, they're going to show up for it. And they're going to make sure that their game is in the right spot. I honestly think Wallace is a great play. He's a grinder. He kind of reminds me of Poulter in that way. You know, he'll string together a lot of birdies, and then out of nowhere, it's like, crap, Matt Wallace, bogey, and then he instantly bounce back birdie. And he's just constantly in the mix. I truly like Wallace this week, and the fact that he can score at a high clip. And he won a couple times last year, so he's got the ability to win. He's not just some slouch at 8,100. He's up in that price range for a reason. You know, he's priced higher than Louis Oosthuizen, who has the Grand Slam of second place finishes. He's placed in every major second. So there's a reason Matt Wallace is at that price. I'm going to play him, and I'm going to get a decent ownership on him just because, you know, most players in DFS are American, you know, and they might not know these Euro players. Even though Matt Wallace has shown in majors, that's really all he plays. He doesn't play on the PGA Tour regularly.
Nope. And you mentioned Poulter, and, you know, that's the way that's the way he's going to play. Poulter's probably going to look at this as 1 versus 153 to keep the trophy, you know, in Europe. It's almost like a one-on whatever Ryder Cup for him. I'm not saying that he's going to win it, not saying that he is definitely going to play well, but given the way he likes to grind, the way he usually approaches these tournaments, can't see him missing the cut either.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you on Poulter this week? Like, are you actually on him, or you just think he's going to make the cut? What is your – I mean, I know you love Poulter, so I'm sure you're on him. But do you really think that his game's in the right spot right now?
I don't think so as much as the beginning of the year, but I know he had a couple of rough weeks there. But last week he seemed to put it together. Now, it was still kind of a mid-pack because that was a high-scoring event that they were playing in. But I think he still finished 16, 17 under, 15 under, something like that. It was a decent number. So, I mean, I'm on him as far as if I want to get guys that are in the top 25, but I don't see a top 10 unless he surprises me.
Okay. I mean, you're the first person to mention him this week, so another ownership edge right there. And if he is playing Poulter golf and his irons are on, watch out.
He'll be there Sunday if that's the case.
Oh, if his irons are on, the proximity is unbelievable. He'll be putting it, 8 feet to the pin. He just needs to get that flat stick roll. So I would love to see it. I mean, Poulter's awesome. I'll root for him, especially if he's on there late on Saturday. I'll throw a bet on him, a live odds for him to capitalize on Sunday. He definitely wants to bring that trophy home. Okay, so Louis always solid. I mean, I can't knock Louis. He's Louis, man. You know, people don't. He's always overlooked. He always shows up and he does what he needs to do in majors. He takes care of business. Um, Graham McDowell is going to get some run because he is from North Ireland. He might be the one of the North Ireland guys that disappoints, though. I have this weird feeling in the 7K range, he might be the one that falls on his face. Do you have love for McDowell this week?
No, I have, probably him. There's three guys right there together that I probably am just indifferent about is McDowell, Lowry, and Garcia. I know everybody's waiting for Sergio to win again, but again, has anybody mentioned Sergio? Because I haven't heard his name at all either.
Nope, no Sergio mentions. I have not heard his name on anything. Podcast, tweets, anything. He's really going under the radar, which is fine because I'm not high on him. Who is getting a ton of mentions is the guy right under him, and that's Leishman.
Yes.
And I actually saw him in your article as well. And, I mean, stand saves, top 20, scrambling, 13th, bogey avoidance, top 10, proximity from 200, top 20, approach, top 10. I mean, ball striking, top 15. Like his stats, if that is where we're going, those are just very, generic stats. And it doesn't matter what course. He's solid. I mean, that's a really good price for him. There's a reason that he's up there. I don't mind it. I mean, I've heard a lot of people actually putting like bets on it. Like they think he's going to win the freaking thing, which I think is a little bit out there, but he could.
Australian, good in the wind too.
Yeah, he can play in any condition, absolutely. So do you have any love for Simpson? He'll end up garnering some ownership just based on his price and based on what you can do because he's like a top 20, kind of machine at this point.
We talk about Mark Leishman again still, or
Simpson? I'm sorry.
Oh, Simpson. I thought you said Stenson too. I wasn't real sure there. Yeah, I don't know. Webb, like you said, Webb's a solid cash play. I don't think Webb's going to win it. But if I wanted somebody guaranteed to make the cut and get 4 rounds, Webb Simpson is one of those. So
okay, all right. I like Fitzpatrick and Pepperell. Those are my pivots off of Simpson and Leishman. I actually like both of them over them. I'm hammering Euro guys. I'm going to play them just because instantly I'm going to gain an ownership edge, even if they're not as good of golfers. It's a completely different animal. It is a link style course, guys. So these top 20s that you're seeing on, DraftKings when you're just box score looking, they are from normal courses in North Carolina and Florida and Texas. They are not overseas. These Euro guys get a huge bump for me this week. I love Fitzpatrick. I like Pepperell even more, though. I think Pepperell actually has like top 3 upside if he really shows up and plays Pepperell type golf. I think Fitzpatrick, he won at the Quaidar Masters, I believe, which is another link style course, which I've heard a couple times is the most similar to this design. And he's won at that course, so I don't mind him. And they know how to play in the wind. They all do because that's where they grew up.
Yeah, I think if you go back, and I'm kind of trying to look here, I think I might even said last week on Slack that I was feeling Pepperell.
Yeah, and I saw in your article was one of your long shots.
Yeah, I mean,
he actually
lights out.
And I mean, I was reading it. I was like, dang it, he's on him too. But I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, both of us are on him. I just hope that we're the only 2 on him because I honestly don't like when I hear the golfers that I'm on names in other podcasts or other articles.
Really, guys, we don't dislike each other so much that if one's on it, the other one doesn't want to be on it.
No, it's not.
It's just that we have a running joke that we're like this with Adam Scott. If I like Adam Scott, then don't play him. If Al likes Adam Scott, then play him.
Yes, exactly. And normally, if Mark likes Poulter, you play him, guys. I've learned the hard way.
Yeah, I would play Poulter this week in some of my lineups. Yes.
Okay, so RCB's getting quite a bit of run. Do you have any love for RCB? His form's unbelievable right now.
That's $7,500. That's a low price for him.
Yeah, absolutely. What his last 3 finishes are, I think, are like 4th, 3rd, and 2nd or something. Something crazy. It's awesome, and it's all overseas. All those tournaments. I don't think any of them are in America. So he's been playing over there, and he's been playing over there for a reason. He is one of the guys that played in 2012, and I believe he took 2nd at that tournament at this exact course, Royal Port Rush. So there's a reason that people are getting behind him. If his ownership gets too high, I'm not going to play him. But I think he's a pretty solid option at 7,500. I think that's a good price for RCB, just based on the type of golfer he is. And if he's in good form, he kind of reminds me of like a Chez Reavie, where if he's in good form, just freaking play the guy.
Absolutely.
Just roll with him.
Absolutely.
Don't mind that play at all. Brandt Snedeker always shows up on link style courses. Anything that has to do with short game. I mean, he might be the best short game golfer in the world. So as long as he's just not spraying drives and putting himself in bad positions off the tee, Brandt can string together some serious low scores. I like Brandt, and I think Patrick Reed is a big name at 7,400. Like, I feel like that's just he's too good of a golfer to be there. I know he hasn't had a great year, but his last two tournaments he's gained strokes and approach, and he hadn't done that in 5 tournaments prior. So his irons are trending in the right direction. And he's always been known to be a good short game player. So if they link up, Patrick Reed might be a solid value at 7,400. Any love for Brandt or Reed?
Yeah, I have them in a couple of my lineups too. I think it's more the ones where I tried to go with some of the top names, 80, 87, 8,800 and above, and then try to average it out with those. Another one that actually 2 of them, even 3 of them, even further down that I've also been on, because frankly, when I look at my list, once I get down to 7,100, below 7,100, there's not a whole lot of guys that I'm filling a lot of lineups with. I may differentiate some of them, but I like Bernd Wiesberger, Eric Van Rooyen, and Emiliano Grillo. I like all 3 of them.
Let's see. You said Emiliano Grillo, Wiesberger, and who was the other one? I'm sorry?
Eric Van Rooyen.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that guy he's solid. The Van Rooyen, I mean, his irons are absolutely legit this season. Didn't Wiesberger just win? Didn't he win last week?
Yeah, last week. Yeah, and he second or third a couple weeks before.
Okay.
But
yeah.
You take 3 of those guys, you can throw 9,000. You got you're in the low 7s. Like we said, you have $8,300 per guy. You're 9,000 or more for the next 3.
Yeah, and then Agrio is just awesome tee to green. All he needs to do is stay out of the sand. That seems to be his biggest issue. If he can stay out of the sand, greens and fairways, or fairways and greens, I think Grillo is an awesome option. Or at that price, I mean, he's almost cash worthy at that price. He's very, very solid. So, what about Jim Furyk? I'm actually really like Jim Furyk this week.
I do. I have him. I mean, again, he's not going to be a core, but if you want to get a filler in there, you want to get somebody that you got down to the point where you've got $7,000 left, 7,100, 7,500, even 7,800. You don't want to spend all your money. Furyk's going to be one of those guys that the masses probably aren't going to play because they want the names they see every day. And unless you follow golf for several years, a lot of people aren't following Furyk.
Yeah, he's playing really, really good golf this year, just in general. Like some of the best, most consistent golf of his career. And I mean, if it's a course that's, people are going to be not driving the ball, that's where he loses all of his strokes is when people are out driving him. If this is a course where everybody's dialing it down, he's going to still be using driver and putting it in the same spot. And that means he's just going to play with long irons. Okay, that's where he makes his most money, is playing with long irons.
That's right.
He avoids bogeys. He's one of the best scramblers and has been for like the past 20 years. I think freaking Furyk is way underpriced. I mean, he deserves that price, but I truly like Furyk this week. And he might not go out there in top 10, but I mean, at 7,100, if you get top 30 out of somebody at 7,100, that's solid.
And the pricing is different too between here and FanDuel, but and I mentioned it in my article, but I didn't actually check to see, if you count where he is in line. But Bernd Wiesberger is $7,100 on FanDuel. I think he's on DraftKings. I think he's $9,100 or $9,600 on FanDuel.
Wow, yeah, that's huge. Normally it's. Well, they always say, I think it's like a $1,600 difference. So, like, if Bernd was 71,
87.
it should be like, around 87 or something is what they say. So, and that's where Furyk is. Furyk's at 86 on FanDuel. So he like waits out perfectly. Like they did that algorithm correctly. But with that Wiesberger thing, that means his ownership is going to be lower on FanDuel. So that's where you create your advantages. If you know he's going to be high owned on DK or like 10%, you might get him at 2% on FanDuel.
Well, I think the other thing was I think FanDuel added him later in the week after the win would have been factored into their statistics.
Mm-hmm.
I think DraftKings already had him priced prior to the win this weekend, so that could be why there too.
Okay. I love Michael Lorenzo Vera this week.
Yes.
He is he's not only popping in stats, which is weird because I don't know how I have stats on him with being a Euro guy. He must have played quite a few tournaments in the past in the United States. Because that's really all the stats I have. But I mean, I was looking up what he's been doing just in general on the Euro Tour. He's making a ton of cuts. He's top 15 to top 30 in about 90% of his tournaments. A couple top 10s here and there. And his short game is, from what I was hearing, he's like top 10 in every category with short games. So, I mean, I love Michael Lorenzo Vera at 7K. And he will be completely unowned. You might get him at 3%, like even on DraftKings. You'll get him at like 1% on FanDuel, but you probably get him at around 3 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I also I think I've used some of these guys in some spots too. Andy Sullivan, Thomas Peters, Joaquin Neiman, and even I don't know if you say it's George or Campillo. Yeah, I mean he played well last week. He's played well in several tournaments. He just MDF last week. I think I had him. I played one European lineup just because a lot of the big names were over there, and he's actually doing quite well on it until he MDF'd on me. But still, I mean, he's playing solid golf. So if you need people, like I said, once I get to 7,100, I'm not showing a whole lot of interest or love for the guys 7,000 and below. But there are some in there that you can use, and we just named 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah. I like the Sullivan call. His game's trending in the right direction. One other guy who I really want to mention down here who is a really just solid link style player. Probably never even heard of him. It was my first time hearing about him this week. His name is Romain Gasca.
Oh, yeah.
Gasque.
Yeah.
And from what I hear, he's a younger kid, but he just took 3rd last week. He's a very up and down golfer, but he's supposed to be just top notch when it comes to link style. So that's a name that you might get at 0.7% ownership, in like a big tournament. And sometimes these random guys might just completely surprise you.
For anybody
plays
baseball, it's like the guy the other night. The Travis d'Arnaud probably was 4 or 5% owned and hit 3 home runs. That's what you get with the guys down here.
Yeah, and all it takes is them 60 points is 10x.
Yeah, make the cut.
Yeah, just make the cut, guys. And then Christian Bezuidenhout, Bezuidenhout. If you're looking for it on DraftKings. He is making a ton of cuts on the Euro Tour. I've actually paid him quite a few times on the Euro PGA. He's a birdie machine, but he's a cut maker. And like Mark just said, make the freaking cut and you're going to create value. And he's 6,500. So Bezuidenhout and Gasque. I know I am just absolutely butchering those or these names, but if they hit big, I promise you I'll learn their name.
That's right.
But that's really all I want to go to as far as that low. I mean, there are names that we know, like Kierda Effie Barnrat. You have Beef that's coming back, Andrew Johnston. Billy Horschel is a name that's been on the tour for a long time. Guys like these, I'm not on them, but you will know a lot of names. Sometimes you just gotta kind of gloss over those guys and act like they're not in the field. Because their games just don't fit this Euro style golf. They truly don't.
Yeah, and you're going to drive yourself crazy if you try to get everybody that into a lineup. You just got to take a stand and not play some of these guys. I mean, I like Justin Harding early in the year, and he may play well on this links course, but he's at 6,400, and I've actually looked at him. I've actually looked at Oliver Wilson, but I haven't played him. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned them in my article, but I haven't played them.
Yeah, there's a few guys that you might see in my important list. underneath my actual write-up that, I have about 99% of the guys I put in there in some sort of lineup, whether it's, just a dollar entry or something. But as far as putting real money on it, guys, you're spending $12, $25, $50, $150 on lineups. Look at the guys who are writing up and kind of build around them, because those are the guys we are the most confident in. Some guys, they might be crazy, like my sneaky suspicion sometimes are just off the wall. You might just completely overlook that, and that's fine. But other than that, Mark, that's enough. We've named a ton of guys, as does every other podcast. When it comes to a major, it's like you hear every single name. But if you really want it narrowed down, it'll be through our articles. That's who we're really high on. But Slack chat, because weather hasn't, completely been dialed down. So if you have questions or you're in between something, please message us on there.
Yeah, and Renner always likes my gut call, and sometimes I don't. I might mention a gut call in my article, but then check on Slack, because we, right before it goes off, I may change my mind, and it's just like your feature of the week or whatever you call it. It's just that one person that we're trying to find for you guys to differentiate completely. That just, if they pop, you might be the only one on. And
yeah, most definitely. All right, Mark. Well, that's pretty much it, my man. Is there anything else you'd like to do for our listeners this week before heading out?
Nope. Just remember, it's an early start. 1:30 a.m. is the lock on actually Thursday morning, which you might as well call Wednesday night, because I don't think any of us are going to stay up that late. If you want to watch the activity, I guess you'll probably have to do like me and put it on one of my computer screens at work, and then every time somebody comes in the office, minimize it. But it's just the way it works. So good luck to everybody. It's the final major of the year, and we hope you guys bring home some big bucks.
Yeah, I love all the screenshots we've been seeing the past few weeks. It's been awesome. Let's try to keep this streak alive. One thing, if you want to follow like the tournament, do not try to follow it through the PGA Tour app. Download the Open app. That way you can actually follow it in real time. You'll be like 15 minutes behind if you're doing the PGA Tour. NBC will probably be showing like the tournament starting at 1 a.m. all the way up until 12 p.m. the next day. So if you really want to get up and you're loving golf, stay up late or wake up really early and you get to see some on NBC. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, if you have lineup questions, Slack chat's where to reach us. Mark, it's been fun, and I'll see you later, guys.
All right. Take care.